3, 2, 1. Let's see it come live up here. Yeah, it's got it there. Hopefully it's going live for everybody else where they're watching.
Ready, camera 1. Go, camera 1.
Ready, camera 1. Go, camera 1.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
We're slow dissolve. Camera 2. Go, camera 2.
Of course, that's Christopher talking there as he shows up. Hopefully, all right, I see we went live there. All right, that's pretty cool. This thing is actually working. And kickoff, yeah, thanks, Dan. Appreciate that. So, cool. Now, it's funny, it looks like it's about 30 seconds behind. So, what I'm seeing on the actual production monitor, it looks a lot different than what I'm seeing live right now. But, all right, well, first of all, welcome to everybody to our first of many, maybe. Hopefully, honestly, I hope not. Hopefully we get through this coronavirus issue and we can start having face-to-face meetings again. But we are excited to at least try and get everybody together to kind of bring some information and get everybody connected up and see how everybody's doing. I can see we've got about 17 folks watching now. We had about 53 register. We had a bit of a snafu earlier. I'll take full responsibility, but in my prospect of trying to get everything ready and checked and working, I started it live at like 6:15 and then realized the chat wasn't working. And that for me was the most important with what was going on. So I decided, okay, well, let me stop it and try and troubleshoot the live issue. The chat issue. Well, when I went and just stopped the live edit, that was the end of it. It was finished. So I was like, are you kidding me? So I had to redo it and discovered, so lesson learned for everybody here. If you decide to do a live stream on YouTube, don't make it kid friendly if you want to have chat. The chat feature gets disabled if it's kid friendly. And there was no saying or anything in there. If you make it kid friendly, you won't have chat capability. So this is not a kid friendly streaming event now. Yeah, exactly, Dan. It's 2020. We don't have hoverboards yet, but we can chat on live YouTube. So that's pretty cool. I'm real excited that we've got Walter and we got Tom and Christopher and Amy and Debbie all on the call here today. So I'm glad everybody's here, and we'll try and muddle through this as best we can, and hopefully you folks kind of get something to take away from this. I'm excited that we're going to do this as a panel presentation this time. If we end up doing more of these, we'll see if we can get a speaker next time. But my goal is try and make it so that this isn't just a webinar, just like, because everybody deals with them every day. I know I do lots of webinar presentations, but try to make it somewhat interactive. We can do that here with the chat, with the platform we're using. I think it has a maximum of 50 people, 50 that can come on board. But I've got some folks here that can kind of enlighten us a little more. So, all right, I've rambled on for about 3 minutes, so we'll go ahead and we'll kick things off. And I've got some announcements to give to everybody, kind of in line with how I do my meetings. If you've been to our chapter meetings, you know how exciting and entertaining we like to keep them, and we feed everybody beforehand. Unfortunately, couldn't do dinner for everybody tonight, so hence the other reason why I'm looking forward to getting ourselves back face to face with our meetings, is so we can do the dinners and the proper networking and everything else. But I guess in this perspective, if you want, you can have a beer or a glass of wine or a drink while you're watching this. You're certainly welcome to do that. Me personally, I got my water with me, so I've got a couple of announcements I'm going to go through, and then we're going to have some panel discussions with the officers that we have. And I agree, Carol, we're missing Debbie's creative catering surprise dinners that she gives us from all the local folks. And I know I've been personally through this whole endeavor. I've been ordering out and getting food, or going to pick up food from the restaurants, so that they don't end up suffering. So All right. So some discussions or some announcements so far. Got to give a shout out to our friends here over at 8x8. One of our chapter members, Andy Jalbert, is got us hooked up with this platform here today. They are I believe they're Unified Communications, but they got a whole variety. And last year they ended up purchasing, or not, you didn't purchase, you acquisitioned the Jitsi platform. So I have Andrew on the line. So Andrew, you want to say a couple words?
Yeah, thanks, James. Yeah, 8x8, we are a Gartner leader in the unified communications and collaboration space, as well as contact center. Our name comes from video packets, which 30 years ago when we were founded, we were a video compression company, which kind of leads to today where you're hosted on our free meetings platform, which you were kind enough to allow us to host. But, our CEO has recently come out in a publication saying we're in the midst of a communications revolution for all the wrong reasons. But we're trying to, humbly answer our customers and community's needs, whether that's telehealth, supporting government agencies, or, just standard business continuity and remote working support for our enterprise clients. But yeah, we've gone from 150,000 monthly users on the platform you're on today to right now, today we have 15 million plus users. So it's been interesting. And, at the core of it is security. And that's why we're members here. We say that security is non-negotiable. So, here to support any questions you have, and obviously appreciate the opportunity.
Cool. Well, I guess if we're live, they could come up and chat with you afterward. But now that they've seen your face, and hopefully at the next couple of meetings, you'll be able to be able to see your face.
That might actually scare them away. But don't hold that face against me. But thanks.
No. Well, they've seen you now streaming on this, so they'll be able to find you. So, but we'll get, if anybody's got questions, you can reach out to Andy. We can get the contact information out to everyone. So we're now up to about 40 people that are now watching. So great to see that we got Avi and Mike, Carol Ann and Michael F, and Jim and Dan and Vinny, Geraldine Riley. Hey, Geraldine, Miguel, and yep. So if you're watching us, say hi to us on the chat. That's our way of knowing that you're here, and we know that who's in attendance here. So, all right. So big thanks to 8x8 and helping us out, and of course, big thanks to our other sponsors that we do have that help us out throughout the year. It's been kind of weird. February was the last face-to-face meeting we had. Today's meeting was supposed to be our big annual event meeting that we were going to be doing, and now we're doing it all from the safety of our homes. So we still are discussing that we can try and do an annual meeting later on this year, but we're just still working out. We got to figure out what ends up happening with regards to our events. So, but of course, like I said, a big shout out to the sponsors that are helping us out, and they allow us to, keep doing the dinner events and everything else. But hopefully, once we get going again with our face-to-face events, we're certainly going to need help from our sponsors. All right, so everybody that's on here is already a chapter member, because we only opened up this meeting to our chapter members. We didn't really open it up to guests. So skip over the slide of our Connect, Educate, Inspire, Secure. You guys all know it. You guys can see on the right-hand side, we've got everybody connected. We got Walter and Tom, Debbie and Amy. I think Paul's on. I haven't had a chance to see him yet, but yeah, we're here to help you guys out, and they're going to be our panelists tonight. So I'm excited. Ask them a fun questions. So upcoming events. Well, usually this is where we start talking about all the other stuff we got going on. But right now, kind of everything's on a holding pattern. We will shoot to do our next meeting once we get through tonight and kind of get lessons learned and figure out what worked, what kind of worked, what didn't work. We'll look at setting up the next meeting. We'll shoot for the same time frame, whether we do it as a breakfast brief. Probably not, because we all have morning meetings. But otherwise, we'll look at trying to do another evening event. And if we start getting the stay-at-home orders lifted, then we'll start looking at getting around, back around town and start doing our meetings. But again, we'll just kind of get through. We're kind of taking everything right now as one day at a time and see what happens. But I know everyone's excited that we're all here. So we'll see how tonight goes and then look to move forward. Even with ISSA, I know they put on hold. ISACA, they put on hold. But hey, CentralSec, they actually did a live meetup last Wednesday on Zoom. And good old Ian Meyer, they got Zoom bombed. For those of anybody that's on the meeting tonight, if you attended that CentralSec, they got Zoom bombed. They got hit. The true colors of humanity came through, so to speak. But ironically, I joined the meeting at the beginning of it, and then had to leave to go to another meeting. And I actually was able to come back after I finished that second meeting. And when I came back, apparently they've been really heavily Zoom bombed while I was away. So I had the fingers pointing at me of everybody going, "Oh, James came back, so I guess he was responsible for all the Zoom bombing." But yeah, no. So, but CentralSec, they did do a Zoom meeting, and it worked really well for them. They had a good turnout there. So. Some of the conferences that were supposed to happen have either been shifted or kind of in a holding pattern. InfoSec World could be virtual. I know I'm recording mine in a couple weeks on May 5th for my presentation. But B-Sides has been pushed to November, I do believe. I know I got Ian on the chat here, so he'll probably correct me if I'm wrong. But I know they've pushed back. And, of course, a lot of this is all, up in the air right now. If they end up not allowing full groups to get together to the new year, then that could be a problem. But we'll see what ends up happening. But Security Congress is still moving forward, from what I understand. I haven't heard anything different with regards to if they're going to be virtual or not. So we will see what ends up happening with that. Oh, what's that doing? Oh, that's cut over from a leftover. All right, membership info. We're at 222 active members, believe it or not. So we've actually had some growth, which is great. But we've had a lot of new members sign up. I know a bunch of these are students. Peter Warmka joined. He was our presenter a couple months ago, which was great. But we've had some new members join up, and hopefully once we get back together again, we'll be able to meet up face to face and give you guys your challenge coins. Our renewed members, and Barry renewed, and I saw he was signed up, registered here today. Thanks a lot, Barry. That's great. But a lot of other familiar faces or familiar names on here. So I'm glad a lot of folks are still registering. And here's the delay. I finally saw Ian's message pop up. B-Sides does not have a date yet, but they are investigating virtual. So we'll see what ends up happening. And I'm sure you guys will hear about it when it comes around. But thanks to those renewed. Thanks to those that are coming up. Here's your renewals if you're on the call. Your renewal is due before. This is people that are expected to renew before June 10th. So there's just a reminder there for you if you see your name up there. Our expired members, sad face on that. Some of these folks are actually back from even in February. But I know some folks have moved out of town. But these are just the expired folks. So ironically, if you've expired, you wouldn't have gotten an invite for this meeting, so you're not on the call anyway. So kind of unfortunate there. Some chapter-specific information. Essentially, re-elections this is kind of how it's ending up. So Walter's back as our vice president, Christopher is staying on as our membership, and Paul is staying on as our treasurer. So congratulations to them. As they're going to be hanging around with us for 2 more years. So should be lots of good times with them with regards to that. So, all right. So the presentation that we're going to be doing essentially is going to involve our officers. I'm going to kick it off by putting the question to one of them first, and then let them answer. And then if they've got anybody else has other comments they want to add, they can join in. You folks are welcome to add in on comments on the chat, or if you have any questions as we go along, you can put that to them as well. So the first question, I'm going to put it to Walter, is our newly elected vice president, or re-elected vice president, I should say. Sorry. How has the stay-at-home order impacted your work environment and position? Any lessons learned for you with regards to your environment? And I'll put it over to Walter. So just make sure you're on mute there, buddy.
Yep. So, I mean, we're all working from home at this point, and of course, we're reprioritizing work as needed. Finding we do a lot more ad hoc kind of work based on what leadership's asking for, based on the environment right now. I mean, because bottom line is the need for security hasn't changed. The need to focus on it, if not even more so right now, just because so many people are working from home and they're not behind, the nice safety net of the company networks. So they're a little bit more exposed. So it right now it's kind of making security even that much more critical. The things I've learned kind of so far is just, it's sticking with a schedule, define a schedule for yourself and stick with it. Because I tend to find myself working longer and longer hours, more so just because, I don't have to get in a car and drive and all. So, yeah, so that's some of the takeaways that I've had so far.
Did we lose James?
I'm thinking we might have. I do not see him now. He's saying he clicked the wrong button. So, Christopher, how about you?
Same question, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so as far as working from home, like the home space, I'm not a stranger to working from home. But when you're working from home daily, you realize how thin the walls of your house are, especially in a family of 4 with 2 little boys. So yeah, sometimes it can be difficult. And your office space, I tried to do what I could to have a comfortable office space so that I could work. As far as work, goes, probably same challenges that other companies have encountered. Growing pains when it comes to remote access and bandwidth, and even growing pains on the vendors' sides. Those companies that provide us with remote access or web filtering services and stuff, they're all going through growing pains and stuff like that. But despite it all, the focus has still had to be providing the same quality of service, providing the same level of service. Sure, the hours may be a little bit more flexible, but our business has still been, for the most part, business as usual. So it's supporting our customers and our sister companies and stuff like that. Trying to maintain the quality of communication. Everybody's remote, but it shouldn't hesitate us from picking up a phone when we need to call someone, and still put in the same due diligence when composing professional emails and communications and stuff.
Cool. All right. So the little widget that I had on my window, I pushed it up, and at the same time there was a delay. And when I went to click on the little window again, it hung me up. So that's why I dropped off. So my apologies for that. Gotta love technology. Holy cow. All right. So Anybody else want to add to how work's going for them? Tom? You got your audio there, Tom? Sorry, I am. Now I'm live. Tom's on. Debbie, are you on?
I'm here.
Cool, Debbie. So you as a consultant, how's it been for you?
Actually very busy because I've had a lot of breaches that I've been dealing with. So we've had several IT companies that were hacked that impacted doctors. So my husband and I had a conversation on a Sunday night that my business was probably going to be on hold for the next year, and the breach happened the next morning. It had happened that Saturday, but people didn't find out about it till Monday. And so it's actually been very busy. For us, the adjustment of working at home, though, is that, my husband's home, Wesley's home, we have friends staying with us, and all of us are working at home. So that's 6 people trying to pull the bandwidth and trying to work from home. But it's been good, and we're all staying busy and limiting our going out. But I think that hopefully that's going to be ending soon. Tom, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me this time?
Yes.
Oh, good. I had
Yes.
to restart.
James's connection dropped again.
Yeah, my headphones lost sync for no reason. That was odd. I do cyber tests for the Department of Defense. So it's been a very challenging environment right now because obviously we can't do cyber tests with the DoD essentially working from home. The travel ban is now through the end of June for them. So we had to really pivot our entire organization to figure out, well, how do we add value back to the customer? And we're going back and we're doing tool development, cleaning up old problem reports and trouble tickets, and trying to just put all of our efforts back into development of the tool sets. And in addition, some of us in the more leadership positions are out, talking to various prior customers and different avenues to try to drum up future business and start work and getting those in the pipeline moving forward. So it's been very challenging, but we're still moving ahead. Some of the things I've learned from working from home is, right in the beginning, I realized, oh, this is not going to be a couple weeks. This is probably going to be a couple months, and now it might be even longer. They're asking us to stay home as long as possible. Get a new office chair, get a footstool, invest in a headset. I was like, okay, if I'm going to be here for a long time, this isn't like sitting at the kitchen table trying to hack away at this. I need ergonomics. My back is going to kill me. Day 2, my arms were killing me because I had no armrests. So doing all those type of things, going, yeah, let's invest a little bit in ourselves to do this right. Amy, are you there?
I think we lost James again. I think his bandwidth lost. He said he lost a connection, so he's trying to get back on.
No, I'm here.
Oh, good.
The bandwidth issue. It's the hang up button is way too close to the microphone and camera button. So
you need smaller fingers.
If I was using a touchpad, sure, yeah. So Amy, how's it been going for you? Because you were doing a lot of traveling there.
Yeah. So I'm working for Accenture now, and Accenture has basically over 500,000 employees, and every single one of us have been grounded. So there is absolutely no travel allowed. And if there is a rare chance that we have to travel, we have to go all the way up to a committee in order to get special approval. But basically, outside of the no travel, the travel ban, I actually got put on a special COVID-19 task force. And basically, Accenture's been really busy trying to help clients mobilize their remote workforce, everything that encompasses.
Oh, wow. Okay. Did we lose you again? Or am I going on?
Yeah, we got you.
Oh, okay. It's just the laptop here having too much fun playing catch up. All right. So let's get back the questions. So actually, while I wait for that, so I'm curious, are you guys, what type of video, have you been doing a lot of video conferencing with your stay at home, or are you just been heads down doing work? And if you have been using video conferencing, what have you been? Curious to kind of get a poll here. So we'll go back with Walter, start off again. Say again, Debbie?
I said I've been doing back-to-back seminars because a lot of the healthcare facilities are doing continuing ed for doctors. So I've done Zoom, I've done Come to Meeting, I've done Log Me In, and I think that's it.
So no 8x8?
I think because I've been going through. I have not, but I think I'm going to, because I was looking for a platform for when I do seminars, webinars. So yeah, we'll have to have a conversation.
There you go. So have you got a particular one you like to use or has been working better for you, Debbie?
They're all, to me, they're all the same, but I've also been a guest where I didn't have to set up anything. I just have to log in at a certain time and be ready to go with a presentation. And so it hasn't been that big of a deal for me.
Cool. So they've all been, it all works for you. You haven't got a particular favorite.
Right.
Okay.
But I'm going to screen into it better so I can start doing webinars for my company.
Gotcha. Cool. So, Walter, what are you able to tell us which one your guys are using?
If you name it, we're using it.
Oh, okay. All right.
I mean, it's the typical. We run between just internally ourselves as well as vendors. I mean, it's pretty much we use everything. We touch on everything. I mean, there's some that we'll tend to use a little bit more. But it's the typical. It's the Blue Jeans, Slack. The Skype, Teams, WebEx, Zoom. I mean, you name it, it's getting used. Most of I know one of the big concerns right now is obviously, which you talked about in the opening announcements, Zoom, and some of their issues. Some of that's a little bit concerning, and some of their marketing hype of end-to-end encryption, that's not, those types of things. And the latest thing, some of the later things that I'm kind of hearing now is, they're reacting quickly. I mean, and they're trying to, address these things. Some of the various security podcasts I listen to, they're kind of coming out with some of those things have been known. And it unfortunately took a situation like this and the exposure for them to start reacting to addressing those.
To address it, yeah. I was reading the other day, version 5 is supposed to come out next month, towards the end of next month. and they're supposed to have better end-to-end encryption. So we'll see what they do. I mean, you look at them as an organization, and the amount of users that just flooded to them, and then put under the spotlight, and then for them to shift their focus and focus on more security. There's good and bad to it, in my opinion. I think it's good that they finally took the action. I think it was bad that it took that to do it. So hopefully it's, you kind of be able to pick them up. I'm looking through the chat, and I can see a lot of folks that responded. We got WebEx and Teams and Zoom, Google Meet, Slack, Zoom mainly, GoToMeeting, WebEx, Teams. Yeah, so there's a lot of, sorry, Andy, I don't see any 8x8, man. Yeah, so, it's good to see that they're making those. Yeah, Avi says they went from 10 million to 200 million users. Yeah. So, somebody commented, did anybody see the NFL draft, the first couple of rounds with the potential draftee? I remember when that came, Zoom and Teams, I think. And I remember commenting that, whatever they use, let's hope they've done their risk assessments, because that's what it comes down to. Everybody jumping on video conferencing. It's like, well, hopefully you've done your due diligence and you've already had something in place. But I think a lot of organizations didn't have anything. So. Yep.
Well, and just to give Andrew and them, some props here over at 8x8. The basis of a lot of this is Jitsi. And then a lot of the security podcast, hardcore security folks that I listen to, Jitsi is what they're talking about for really good security.
Yeah, because I know they were open source. That had that end-to-end encryption.
Yep, and. Yeah, I think we lost James again.
We're also known for our disconnect button. That's
at least in James's case. So
sorry, guys, I couldn't help it.
Maybe he's in a bunker somewhere. He just doesn't have good connection.
He's wearing an oven mitt. He's actually controlling the computer with an oven mitt.
Well, so with that, I'll kind of jump in. I know one of the things we want to talk about is kind of what are the things we've learned during this time. I talked earlier about just kind of working from home. If you don't set a schedule, you will tend to find yourself working longer hours, more so. And it's enough that I know, like for me, the days start blurring together. I'll be saying something like, being Tuesday, my wife's going, no, it's Thursday. It's like, whoa, I lost a couple days. So there's that aspect, is really trying to keep that focus. But some of the other things I've learned, ironically, right now, because of being so much heads down doing work, is I'm finding it hard to keep up with security. From a keeping on track with what's going on. Because what have I lost working from home? I lost my drive time. When did I do the most listening to my security podcast and intake and listen to stuff? It was during my drives. So I'm actually finding it harder and having to work harder to try and keep up on from a security aspect on what the trends are right now and what's going on. How about you, Tom?
Oh, I think personally, a lot of self-reflection, of course, and I consider myself a pretty big introvert, and I don't like crowds and I don't like people, and I find that in isolation, maybe I like people more than I thought I did. So that human interaction is critical. So I think a few of us, we're chatting all day, talking to each other, picking up the phone every now and then, just try to stay connected to people, because it is very isolating. unique environment. So yeah, that's something I've learned about myself is I need a lot more human interaction than I ever thought I did.
Yeah, I know. Like for our organization, a lot we've actually been setting up we literally call them virtual water coolers or virtual coffee meetings where all we do is we get on and we just kind of talk and chat and talk about what's going on as like you said as a way to keep that connection going with everyone. Yeah, I agree. When you're in an office and you get the drive-bys in the hallways and the chats and the conversations, yeah, you start to very quickly notice not having that. And after a while, yeah, at least for me, it starts to kind of take a little bit of a toll.
Yeah, and then now it's like focused all around work. And when you're at work, maybe you're not as 100% productive. And there's a lot of, hey, did you catch that game last night? Or did you see that movie? And so a lot of that kind of social interaction kind of has gone away. So I think that's important to remember to, hey, just pick up the phone and talk to your cube mate or whatever and say, hey, what's going on? What, don't say what'd you do this weekend because we always joke about that. Nothing, sat at home. But we can talk about other things. So I think that's important to stay connected that way as well, besides just work all the time.
Yep, exactly.
So we do have a question. Well, we do have a question. They want to know if what good security podcast do you recommend?
Oh, that's somebody already said Barry, our good our former education guy of the chapter. He's up in Tallahassee. Barry said Hacking Humans, and I gotta second that. Not because of the fact that the company I work for sponsors them, but anything the CyberWire's been putting out is really good. But there's another podcast that does they do 4 different podcasts called Cyber Hub Engage. They're based out of Atlanta. So they do a daily one, they do a privacy one, a CISO one. They just did a virtual summit. So Cyber Hub Engage would be my recommendation. So, Walter, what's your favorite?
Well, I was going to say, I mean, you touched on it, CyberWire, obviously, from those guys, Recorded Future. Another one, if you don't mind a long podcast once a week, that can get really in depth. Security Now, Steve Gibson, GRC. It's once a week, but it's a 2-hour, and they dive real deep into a lot of stuff, and they're really good. Some of the other ones, Hacking Humans, obviously. I also, I kind of find I also like some of the historical history kind of ones. So some of the ones I listen to from that standpoint, if you're interested in any of that type of stuff, is Malicious Life. Is one where they talk about various hacks in the past, and I just listened to a 2-part on that one talking about Huawei and the background behind Huawei and how some of the things transpired. Another one I listened to is called Hacked. They used to exist. They're coming back. They're kind of starting back up again. Darknet Diaries is a good one. That's got really good stuff there. And another just kind of general tech history one that I enjoy. It's called Command Line Heroes. It's actually put out by Red Hat, where they talk about a history of a specific item and how a lot of the things that we know to this day almost didn't happen because of leadership and various situations and things going on and competitions and. Yeah, so that's some of the ones that I listen to.
So, Christopher, you listen to any podcasts now that Walter's named all the other ones?
I don't listen to security podcasts. It's a difficult way for me to consume information. I have listened to them in the past and stuff. Especially, I have listened to a lot of Security Now and have learned good things. But in general, it's a hard way for me to consume information. I'm much more of a reader.
So no podcasts at all then?
No.
Okay, cool. What's reading any good books lately?
Yeah, so what I'm reading right now.
Oh, look, you got it handy.
Well, you you collect books, right? When,
I mean, look
when
at
you're a
your background.
professional, right? You collect books, and I've had a stack of them accumulating, and I'm like, I just need to start working through these and stuff. So what I'm reading right now is this Managing Risk and Information Security.
Yeah.
This is written by Malcolm Harkins. He was the CISO for Intel, and right now he's a Chief Security and Privacy Officer at Cylance. And he walks through from an executive level all the things that he's learned and formulated and stuff like that. And one of the sections of the book that stood out was this idea of the misperception of risk, and how we need to acknowledge how different people perceive risk, from employees to security professionals to managers to executives. All of them perceive risk a little bit differently, and recognizing that, and how do we counteract that, right? How do we address it? Employees judge risk by how much they like something. They like social media, so to them it's not very risky because the benefit is really high.
Right.
But to security professionals, it's the complete opposite. Right, we see all the vulnerabilities and stuff like that. So to us, social media is highly risky, and we don't see the business benefit so much. And then managers, they sometimes they surround themselves with people with similar viewpoints. So they have they get biased or incomplete information when they're trying to make risk-based decisions.
Right.
So at the end, it comes down to having diversity of viewpoints, ensuring that you're looking at new perspectives and views. When everybody is saying turn right, maybe you should turn left just to see what's down left.
Right.
Seeking out that minority report. So yeah, I've really been enjoying this book.
Listening to you describe it, two things came to mind would be, we could do for a meeting, it could be Christopher reading a chapter from the risk management book. But then I was thought, no, because then, everybody might fall asleep. No.
The corridors at Intel, June 2nd, 2015.
But then the other idea I had would be, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we had an ISC2 or a Central Florida book club? And everybody brings their favorite book, and, everybody reads it and then talks about things that they learned. So, should just email the list before you get now. So Debbie, any favorite podcasts, any favorite books that you've been reading, or you just been too busy with all the other stuff going on?
I have been, the podcast that what I'm watching is called MF Prod, because I'm studying for that CISSP.
Oh, wow. Did the lights go out in your house?
No, it's probably just the fact that I'm in the dark and you turn the lights on in my room.
We'd all be impressed.
Sun's going down.
And the lights went out.
Sun's going down.
So Debbie's working on her CISSP. That's cool. Tom, got any podcasts or books?
No, I generally listen to Security Now. I think that's a great one. Yeah, it's long, but it's good on the commute. You're right. I haven't listened to that in a while now. But it's just a great way to stay on top of just the latest news, the latest breach. What happened with Marriott, what happened, what's Microsoft's had some big patches come out. And I find it interesting just to know the state of what's going on today. And so, yeah, that's the one I use.
That's cool. Good to know. Yeah, somebody mentioned Down the Security Rabbit Hole. That's another good one as well that's out there. But yeah, when you start talking about favorite books, Cuckoo's Egg is the one that always comes to mind. The Phoenix Project's another one. I just got my hands on Teresa Payton's book called Manipulation, which is really interesting because it deals with social engineering and how people or how culture gets manipulated based on a variety of different things. But Teresa Payton is a former CIO for the White House back for George W. Bush. She presented at ISC2 Congress a couple years ago. And so anyway, that's kind of the book I'm reading through. Amy, any good books or podcasts you listen to?
Not any that have not already been named by everybody else, but the only book I'm studying right now is the CISSP. So
Oh, wow. Okay.
Debbie, to where that's the only book I'm looking at right now.
Wow. Ah, the joys of studying for the CISSP. Yeah. Got to admit, I don't really miss those. So.
And we got to give a call out to the Center for Cyber Safety and Education, Patrick. He's actually going to be interviewed on CyberWire.
Do what?
He's actually going to be interviewed on CyberWire soon.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, let's see if Pat will tell us. It'll take a couple seconds from when the stream comes through and we hear from him. So, but does anybody in our audience, anybody that's on the listening on the stream, anybody have any questions that you'd like to know from the officers? It'll take a couple seconds before it catches up here. But did I miss anybody? Hey, Andy, how about you? You got any good books or podcasts you listen to?
Totally unrelated, because when I'm not working, I love to listen about pop culture and basketball. So the Bill Simmons podcast is always my personal fave.
Cool.
But from a work perspective, it's more just professional development type things for me. You guys are so much smarter than me that I don't. I'm blown away by some of those publications. But yeah, I'll have to think about that. I'll put it in the chat.
Oh yeah, there you go. Okay, that works. Bob Henderson, who one of our sponsors from ISG, good friend Bob. He put a really good title of a book, which I highly recommend for a lot of folks, especially if you're in sales. Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. It's a book about negotiation and sales tactics and everything else. So it's something I highly recommend as well if you haven't, if you want to read that.
My wife just got the master's classes, and there's some really cool stuff in there. One in particular on negotiating that was very cool. Highly recommend it.
Good to know. Cool. Avi brings up a good point. He was saying that now that he's been at home and spending more time there with no commute, he's doing more of the ISC2 continuing education courses. All the courses, the free courses that are online that everybody can go take if you're an ISC2 cert holder. Those are available that you can go do. They've got, what were they up to, 25, 30 courses now. Great way to get CPEs. So that's available to everybody. The PDL, professional development tools that are available. And they're free that are out there. So make sure, go check it out. Masterclass is another good one. I know Pat Craven and I, we were chatting about that. The subscription for that is not that expensive. I think it's less than $200. You get a full year subscription, and they got all kinds of stuff, everything from sales to writing to cooking if you want it, but a lot of good stuff on leadership skills and so forth. So that's out there as well. Eric wanted to know, has anybody implemented a chat server for remote communications? Or are they just, so I'm curious. I think a lot of folks, I know for us chat, we have the Google Suite, so we've got the G Chat. So unless there's anybody wants to chime in on what kind of chat capability or program you guys are using, Slack.
Yeah, we use Microsoft Teams.
Cool.
And it's really good collaboration because you can pivot seamlessly from video calls and chats, and you have a group meeting, but then that chat with everybody is persistent, so that meeting can then carry on and follow-ups and stuff like that.
Right.
And it's nice because we're even starting to integrate some of our security tools with Teams, because you can post alerts and stuff to a channel. So yeah, we like Microsoft Teams.
Cool. Yeah, especially when it helps when you're Microsoft House and it's just all integrated and it all works together.
And at least for the next few days, Pluralsight has been offering free their entire course library for free this month. So, at least through for the next few days, if anyone's interested, Pluralsight, they can go out there and do any of those classes.
Is that through to the end of April?
Yeah.
Good to know. Yeah, a lot of folks are saying Microsoft Teams, Skype, Slack, Discord. Hey, Discord. Glip with Ring Central. Oh, cool. Yeah, Ring Central's good. I know that. I've heard of that one. What about you, Tom? Anything exciting that you got?
No, we are in the Stone Ages using Skype. We're using Skype.
Okay.
And we do not video chat at all, where our culture is. We don't video. I don't know why. Maybe it's because we do classified work, so we don't like cameras.
Right.
I don't know. They have recently pre-installed Microsoft Teams on everybody's machine, but I haven't heard about a rollout, so I don't know if we're migrating to that.
Cool. Debbie or Amy? Oh.
I was just going to say 8x8 has built-in chat into our unified communications platform, but we also do integration into MS Teams and Slack as well.
Cool. Good to know. I was going to say, I bet Debbie uses everything because with your consulting, right, Debbie?
I usually, for within our company, we use the Teams.
Okay. Good to know. Cool. Well, we're about coming to the end of the hour here, unless anybody's got any other questions or other comments that they want to share. Anything out of the chat? It looks like it's a good, Michael F. said legal pad and sneakers. I guess that's for his chat program. That's kind of tricky if you're stuck working at home. So, well, we ended up having about 43 people end up connecting here today. So it's a decent turnout. But any other last comments from any of the other officers?
I can tell you overall, from my perspective, what we're seeing in the market is that companies will do almost anything to mobilize their workforce remotely, and that includes sacrificing their security. So, just kind of be on the awareness about the remote users and what they're doing, because at the onset of this crisis, there was a lot of global laptop constraints. As companies tried to send their workers home, they needed to also do the equipment, and so that equipment got used up very quickly. So they started implementing bring your own devices, and those are not being patched properly. They're not company devices. So there's a lot of security concerns in the market right now.
Yeah, I was going to say, and I know that as you start thinking about, people who did have company assets, like I said earlier, who were behind the nice, security of the company's firewalls and everything else, now working at home, hackers are wanting to target those machines, and if they can get on those machines, and then you go carry that back into the office eventually, so I know some groups are starting to talk about what does that process look like for reopening an office when you've had a machine at home that's maybe not behind all the protections it had before. Do you need to do something to double check that before you bring it onto the wire?
Yeah, good point. If people are using VPNs, at least you've got a way to monitor the connections, whatever the systems are. But if they're just doing SSL, TLS, or whatever the connections, you never know what's going to be brought back in. But yeah, I think time will tell, and we'll see what ends up happening. Debbie or Amy, any last minute, or Debbie, any last minute comments?
No, just everybody stay safe, and hopefully this is going to be over shortly.
Yeah, I know with the colleges, they're not opening up the class. They're doing online over the summer. UCF, Valencia, I think Full Sail as well. I know Ian's on. He'll probably verify that for me here in a sec. But yeah, so it could be, before we start doing face-to-face meetings, could be the fall. So I think we will probably start as a board. We'll start considering what we're going to do in the coming months. We'll do something in May, and get a presentation, or maybe we just do another fun chat like this, do a happy hour and everybody bring a drink and everybody give us questions and we'll answer them or something. I don't know. We'll brainstorm, because this is it's a whole new world, a whole new way of working for everybody and a whole new way of, being productive, because it's a lot different than what it was. Our thought process of productivity a couple months ago could be a lot different, or is a lot different for a lot of other people. So, than it is now. So, cool. All right. Well, I am going to put a pin in this one and call this one done. I want to thank Andy for helping us out with the 8x8, the platform, and for Scott as well for kind of being there in the background and support, answering some last-minute questions that we had. But a nice shout out to our officers, to Christopher and Tom and Walter and Amy and Debbie, sharing your thoughts and everything, and of course to the members, to everybody that's listening. Thank you for joining us here today and sharing your how things are going for you. And Christopher, did you have one other thing you wanted to add?
Yeah. Are there any special instructions for the attendees to document their CPEs?
Yeah. So to give you guys a CPE, if you want a CPE, we need you guys. We're going to ask them to email us, right? Isn't that what we were going to do? I think they were going to email us a code word or something like that. But then we were going to do it. Is that how it was?
I think so.
Yep.
I think so. All right. So we just need everybody to email us. What was the code word? Christopher Hickernell is the best at CPEs? No, that's too complex.
CPE God.
Christopher is a CPE god. Yeah. Email Christopher to let him know that you're in attendance today, and we will. You'll make sure you get your CPE for this.
The secret word is misperception.
Misperception. There you go. That's the secret word. Email Christopher Hickernell, membership at ISC2-CentralFlorida.org with the word misperception, and he'll give you your CPE. But again,
or info if you can't remember that.
Or info at ISC2-Chapter, ISC2-Chapter-CentralFlorida.org. Yeah. Or you guys know how to get a hold of us. So. Again, thank you very much, everybody. Have yourself a safe evening, a wonderful evening, and be safe out there.
Thank you, Jay.
See you soon.
Bye, everybody.
Take care.
See you.
Have a good night.